Hello and welcome to the Architecture Unbound podcast. This week is a solo episode, and I'm going to be talking about what a week in my life looks like now that I am a self-employed. And it's been about 6 months since I quit my full-time job at an architecture studio and have been figuring out what I really want to do with my life and how I want to fulfill myself with all of my passions and all of the things that I really love, how I can fulfill my life's purpose. And I knew that that wasn't just going to be sitting at a 9 to 5 for me. I would say after 6 months, I've finally nailed down a routine and a schedule that outlines my whole week that I really like. So I'm really excited to share it with you guys and just talk about what happens behind the scenes on the day to day. Now that I'm self employed and I have to manage myself and my time and just what that looks like. So, obviously, we're going to start with Mondays. Every day of the week, let me preface this with every day of the week is something different. So, there's a lot of moving parts in my business, there's a lot of different facets, there's a lot of different things I'm doing. And so every day I really have like a theme of what I'm trying to accomplish that day. So as we go through each day, you'll sort of see what I mean when I'm saying there's like a theme. So Mondays are CEO days. Tuesdays are freelance days, Wednesdays are freelance days, and Thursdays are freelance days. Freelancing is a little bit dry right now, so I am replacing those 3 days with other tasks, but generally, when I look at my calendar, I have those 3 days blocked off for freelancing work for 6 to 8 hours a day. Thursdays, like I said, freelancing, and Friday is content creation day and reselling day. So I also do clothing reselling on eBay, which is something that I just started about 2 months ago. That's fairly new. So that's just like a quick, super quick description and overview of what I do in my day to day and how I structure each day based on a theme. So Mondays are my CEO days. And basically what that means is I start my week and it's imperative that I want to have a fulfilling rest of my week. And so I take the time on Mondays to look at my goals, my to-do list, where I am with the projects I'm working on, and I prioritize what I feel like should be accomplished that week in each category. So after I have a vision for what I want my week to look like, I check in with my finances, I update any income or outcome from the previous week. I have only been self-employed for 6 months, so I still do everything myself. Therefore, it's really important for me to just stay up to date on a lot of smaller tasks instead of putting them off and having a bigger pile to deal with in the future. Once I'm done with all these housekeeping things, I get to dive into the funner part of my CEO days, which is course calls and course creation. So I have a main course that I am in the process of recreating, which is Revit Foundations 2.0. It's a course for young professionals to take that will allow them to have confidence in Revit, whether they're in school or starting a job. So this Monday, I had a Revit Foundations call at 4 p.m. We went over and reviewed any questions for modules 1 and 2. These are my favorite because I got to connect with so many different people all over the world. And I usually have a good stretch of time before my live call on Mondays to do any course development work that needs to be done. So this past Monday, it was editing Revit Foundations Module 4. I am usually like waking up, doing those check-ins for the week, planning the week, the to-do list, the prioritization, and then before the calls at 4 p.m., I'm in the course working on it. This won't be forever. I will be probably not doing course development for a while once Revit Foundations is done because I just want to focus on this one course in the meantime. So we'll see how my Mondays end up looking, but that is what this past Monday looked like. Let's get into what Tuesday looks like when I'm not freelancing. So typically I like to work 6 or 8 hours of freelance on Tuesdays, but there's been less freelance work right now, and my Tuesdays have been really wide open. So I've been taking the opportunity to use this time to further work on Architecture Unbound and community developments. This past Tuesday, I focused on editing the monthly Architecture Unbound podcast episode. I interviewed a fellow designer and course creator, and I then take the time to edit the podcast episode, upload it to Anchor, that's where the episode's hosted. I write a description, I schedule the post for the next day. I then go in, I'm creating all the marketing slides in Canva. I'm creating 2 reels at least of snippets of a conversation to market with, and I'm doing everything out myself. And I actually really enjoy this because there's a lot of diversity in my day and my tasks, the things that I'm doing, and I really am a creative person to my core. So any type of creation is like my jam. It's so fun for me. It doesn't feel super heavy. It feels like a fun task I get to do. There are times where I do sit down and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to edit this podcast right now, but I always move through it. And at the end of the day, like, I really enjoy putting out the content and being able to just sort of look back also at where I came from throughout this podcasting series. I am such a multi-passionate person, and I really used to feel bad about doing so many things and wanting to do so many things, but I've become like really accepting of myself and all these parts of me, and I'm starting to realize that it's okay to feel fulfilled in all these different desires to create all these different things. The podcast was one of those desires. I really wanted to find a way to connect to other people in the industry that are following non-traditional, unbound architecture paths, and to start having conversations about the gaps between architecture school and the industry. So far, I've had 15 episodes, and I've been on sort of a monthly schedule just because I wanted to just start building up the podcast, and I didn't want it to overwhelm me, so I've just been doing it monthly. But now I am getting more accustomed to my schedule, really settling into the self-employment life, what that looks like for me, and I'm going to start to aim to go on a bi-weekly schedule for the podcast instead of monthly, and you're going to start to see a lot more solo episodes as well as interview episodes. I'm going to definitely continue doing those, but I really want to use the podcast as a way to personally connect with you guys, just to talk freely, for my personality to really come out. I want this to be a relaxed space. Even when I do interviews, I really like them to be relaxed and conversational. So that's what my Tuesday looked like this week. Of course, because the freelance work has been dry, it's been a little bit different week to week. But the overall structure of it is, if I'm not doing freelance work, I want to be actively working on Architecture Unbound and furthering the community and just putting out new resources and things for free, and also just continuing to develop my main course, because that is almost done. And I'm just going to be so happy when it's officially complete, but it's so close to being done. And just having this open time right now is actually a blessing in disguise, because I've had the extra time to put into Architecture Unbound and the Revit Foundations course. So that's been really nice. So this past Wednesday, because I only have a few hours of freelancing work this week, the middle of the week is my favorite time to do it, to get it done. I set aside about 6 hours, like I said, on Wednesdays, but right now I only have 3 hours of work for the week. So the summertime's always really slow in the industry. I'm not really letting the light hours deter me. I have worked on some red lines this week in an AutoCAD file for a water waste treatment facility. It's basically a 1-story slab on grade, wood framed square structure, and my boss that I work for this project is an architect. He hires me to do the contract work for him. He goes into the AutoCAD file, he'll review my work, he'll make any comments in the file, and that's how we really respond back and forth. Then I go into the file, I fix all of his red lines and comments, and I respond to them, and then we go over and review things together, and that's been working really well. So again, like I said, this week was only 3 hours of work, which is really light, but mostly in the summertime it really does slow down, and then usually in September, October, it really starts to pick up. I am just grateful for any amount of work right now that I get, so I put that in the middle of the week. And that was really all I did with my Wednesday. It was just 3 hours of work, and I sort of took a break from other things. Thursday, this is another day I would typically set aside for freelancing, and that would give me about 18 to 20 hours a week that I ideally would like to be filling with freelance work. That's not currently the reality, but it is my ideal schedule, and it's time that I have blocked and set aside in my calendar for when the work picks up again. So it's always blocked out, and each week if I don't have anything, I'll just rearrange and figure out what I'm going to do that day for Architecture Unbound community stuff or maybe some eBay reselling stuff, whatever I'm doing. Those are my other two main ventures besides just freelancing for other architects. It is Architecture Unbound community education stuff, and then my eBay clothing reselling stuff, which is a whole different category of my life. So I spent my time this week on Thursday searching for other freelance opportunities. So because there hasn't really been with my two main freelance clients, I'm just now opening up, looking online, seeing what else is out there for opportunities, getting my resumes, my work samples all in order so that I can start to look for contract work outside of the two people I already know and just see if I can get some other opportunities for myself and put myself out there more. During this time period, I really try and focus on what I can control and what I choose to do with this open time in my schedule. So instead of being like, oh, I don't have any work to do, it's kind of scary, kind of sad, it's really light right now, but what can I do to make use of this time and take control of the situation? Like, what can I do that's in my control? I can work on my course and the community stuff, I can do eBay stuff, and I can also get all my resume work sample stuff out and start looking for other freelancing connections to start building my network of people that I want to do drafting for. So that's currently where I'm headed, what I'm working on, how I'm pivoting, and what are my thoughts around the whole freelance work being open right now. So the Friday of the week is my favorite. They're content creation days and reselling days. They're my funnest and favorite tasks, and of course I put them on Friday because of that. I normally start my Fridays by checking in with my current posts I have outlined for my architecture page and the clothing reselling business page. I recently decided to do this niche because I found myself really wanting to do something more active, and the act of saving clothes from landfills is really rewarding. Like, giving them new homes is really fun. Remember when I said I was multi-passionate? Like, I really meant that. I have always loved anything creative, and when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a fashion designer, so maybe this whole clothing thing is in my inner child poking through, who knows. But once I make sure I have my content planned for both pages and filmed for the week ahead, I start doing the reselling tasks. I won't really bore you with the details. Like I said, this is an architecture page after all, but I photograph items, edit them in Canva, and list them on eBay. It's definitely a funner activity to go to the bins and source the clothes. I really love finding a stunning item of clothing. It takes my mind away from just architecture all the time, and it gives me a separate creative outlet. It is also a fun activity that serves as passive income. Over the last 6 months, I've been trying to discover what makes me happy and fulfilled, and through a glance into my week, you can see that I have a basic structure to my days, but ultimately each week can look different. And I like that in this season of my life, there's flexibility and I adapt to whatever comes my way. So I hope that this inspires you to take risks and do what you're most passionate about in life, and don't shy away from your multi-passionate personality, your creative desires. Just embrace them and go full steam ahead, because you will feel so fulfilled. And people are going to say, what are you doing? You're going to say, oh, I'm doing this, and they're going to look at you like you're crazy, but it just doesn't feel heavy for somebody who is multi-passionate. If you're into human design at all, I'm a manifesting generator, and manifesting generators are the definition of multi-passionate people. We're always doing so many things at once. We feel really fulfilled by it. It looks like a lot looking in. People are like, wow, that looks like a lot. But to us, it feels light. It feels rewarding. It feels fulfilling. It's something we're super passionate about. All these things. We get to fulfill all these desires. We get to stay creative. And I'm just really happy with how things are going. Things are always moving, always adapting, always changing, and I am up for it and always just looking forward to what each week is going to look like with my lightly outlined structure to help guide me. It's been working really well. I feel like I've been making a lot of good strides in all the areas of my life right now. The three main ones being eBay reselling clothes, freelancing for other architects, and working on Architecture Unbound educational things for Revit and young architects. So I'm really excited to see where I continue to develop these things, where all of my passions take me. And I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.